I'm looking forward to trying this multiplayer, I think. I haven't tried Double Caliber yet. Let's try it. Double Caliber seems kind of fun. That's a pretty bad Double Caliber, but still. But yeah, for the difficulty on this game, I am absolutely going to stick with my original assessment that the meta progression in this game takes way too long. Because, like, I can't even imagine how tough the final level is going to be, you know, at level 30-something. Maybe it won't be so bad, but... Meta progression is for... Oh, I don't have anything. Meta progression is for masochists, and it's hard for me to get into it. I'm not even gonna bother to pick it up. Okay. What I should probably do is go hard on the reduced damage taken when dual wielding. Because that was my biggest problem is, like, yeah, I took 179 damage from an enemy hit. Like, not much you can do to come back from that, obviously, except for, like, revive, but that's tough. That gold gain is stupid high. Wow, you're not kidding. I'm noticing the enemies have a little bit more HP, but... Let's see, whenever ammo is picked up, added to the magazine instead of your reserves. Yeah, it's probably fine. Just gotta get a prism, then it's all good. That's why, most people only team up with elite squads and hit level 60s before they start doing elite solo. Games after you start keeping souls in between runs. When you get you start rapidly accelerating your growth. Yeah, I can understand that. It's just... tough? I don't know. It's, I have that problem with, a number of games, actually, where it's just, like, the real game doesn't start until you beat it, and it's like, then what's the point of the beginning of the game? What games have done that? Most MMOs, actually. I have that problem with, like, a lot of MMOs and how they handle things, where it's just, like, the lead up to the actual, you know, the actual end is kind of boring. And then at some point you hit, I'm actually going to die here. I'll just do it. I'm probably going to die early. But my head isn't in the game. I've already been playing this for nearly 3 hours, and so more than that is going to be a problem. I can see why elite mode is fun for people. The lack of ammo is painful. And I'm still in that bad headspace from the previous run where I was just like, I can just blitz through everything and not care. And that's not actually a good place to be. Let's see, extra duration. Pretty much always extra duration to dual wielding. It's just too good. Okay. Let's see. What was I gonna say? Right. I don't know. MMOs, grind, game doesn't start until the end. I always hate it when I hear, like, you know, you just have to get through, like, the first 20 hours of the game and then it's good. So I was potentially considering playing Persona 5 just as kind of, or Persona 4, as kind of just like a casual thing to do at the end of the night. Which I shouldn't do because my hard drive is almost full. I actually am going to need to check before we go on to the next game because there's a very real possibility I might run out of hard drive space. Which I think would be kind of disastrous. Got the Star Destroyer, Star Devourer. Let's see. Okay. But so I was looking into it, and effectively it was like, hey, you want to play Persona 4? Well, the first, like, 2 hours of the game are nothing. You don't actually play. It's just mostly cutscenes and dialogue. And, like, that's tough for me. I get it, but it's kind of one of those where it's like the first 30 to like 40 minutes of a game are the first 30 to 40 minutes of game are the first impression you got. And then the first 10 hours are pretty much what determines whether or not a person's going to stick with the game. And obviously, there are many exceptions to games that, like, you know, the meat of it really happens later. Ammo capacity is doubled. That's probably helpful. Let's see, is it too late for Ring Fit? No, I can do Ring Fit today. In fact, it's actually easy. Let's see, just saying the game has quite a reasonable grind in multiplayer. Single player growth is asinine. I'm not even sure. Like, finding out that it took like 100 hours to get the last gun in this game is just like, that's toughy for me. Do I want to grab an Angelic Aura? I could. It's cheap. It's not bad. Like, I think the grind is... Ooh, Dragon Chaser. Oh, that does homing again. Another big hippo. Or we got a Sunder. I think I'm actually just going to skip these and keep going with whatever it is. But yeah, I think the grind is quite reasonable if you're a somewhat dedicated player. Oh, do I still only have... That's why I'm getting wrecked. I still don't have dual wield. Because I'm an idiot and I keep not picking up... Wait, how do I... Oh, that's why I don't have dual wield. Because I've got the basic starter gun on. And it won't let me. Everything makes total sense. I am surviving purely through grace of heal over time, and that's fine with me. There we go. Ouch. Go for this one. Okay. Yeah, the problem is neither of these guns are actually good for dual wielding. So let's come back to this lady. Grab a Sunder and a Dragon Chaser? Neither of them are great. I'll just buy the bun so I don't have to wait forever. We'll go from there. You can remove it from the scroll. I do have it from the scroll. I think the main thing is I was low on ammo, so I didn't bother. Both of these are terrible, too. I think I just got lucky with guns the last round. And so it's just kicking ass. Let's see. Okay, right. So, grind and other things. But I think it's one of those where the grind is actually very reasonable if this is the only game that you play for like a week or two. And the reason why it's such like a big sticking point for me in a lot of cases is because I play so many other games that like having one game where you have to actually put work in to properly enjoy it is tough. Let's see. Given a cult scroll, give money. I don't need that. I saw... what was it? Jason Schreier, who's definitely been making some like hot takes on Twitter lately, but he put out a tweet saying that video games are too long, which I think was a reference specifically to Last of Us 2, but I could be wrong. But so a lot of people were yelling at him about it, and I think it's just kind of in vogue to yell at the guy for whatever his opinions are. Even though he's probably one of the better, like, investigative journalists on the internet, at least at this current point in time. But, so... what was I saying? Right, he tweeted that, yeah, video games are too long. And a lot of people are yelling at him. A lot of creators were agreeing with him. And somebody pointed out it's probably because he plays way too many damn video games. And I think I'm kind of in the same boat that, like, most games are too damn long. And I would appreciate if a lot of them were shorter so that I actually had a chance to play them all. And I think that's, like, the most first world problemsy thing that a person could have, but at the same time, like, it's actually kind of an issue. It's like saying heroin is too addictive. Okay, you. There we go. Ow. It's like, I got plenty of heroin, but I can't take it because, you know, then I'm gonna OD or get too addicted or something. What is that? Oh, hi. This is a legit problem. A big fan of the dollar every hour doctrine. I'm not. Because that, unfortunately, that ends up leading to, like, a really awkward situation. At least in my mind, where it's just like... Oh, good. I don't have grenades to waste on these guys. But they give me ammo. So I guess it's kind of okay. That starts justifying only really long games. And I run into a lot of problems with the, like, only justifying really long games being the good ones. Because some of my favorite games have been short and very much, like, don't fit that value proposition. Easiest example I can immediately think of is, like, I freaking love, Outer Wilds. Absolute favorite game of last year. Rainbow Arch. Let's see. I'll give it a go. Let's see. Toss 2 grenades instead of 1 without any extra consumption. That sounds really freaking strong. I'll go for it. You can game games like Witcher 3 or Skyrim pretty cheap and spend time playing them. And I totally understand, like, why people are into that, but it's like, I tried playing Witcher 3, and I was just exhausted by the end. I want to actually beat games. And anytime I try and get into stuff like The Witcher, for example, I get, like, partway through, and then just kind of say to myself, like, I don't want to play this game anymore. So, like, Shell and I are reasonably far through Witcher 3. And I just can't bring myself to play any more of it because it's just, it's taking too long. Extra movement speed, can't dash anymore. Screw it, let's be an ostrich. That should be fine. And so, I think this is one of those that, like, you guys will never be able to agree with me on, and vice versa. I think in a lot of cases it really does come down to, like, where you're at in life, what you're doing with yourself, how much free time you have. Because if you're a student with a lot of, with not a lot of free time or not a lot of money, yeah, go figure. You're not going to be terribly into this whole dollar an hour situation. Or, no, that's why dollar an hour is going to be great. But, like, even before I started doing YouTube, I had too many video games from, like, Humble Bundle and a bunch of other stuff. Oops, that's bad. And I really wanted to, like, finish some of them. Nope, I do not have any ammo. And I'm getting just absolutely toasted here. I'm doing okay, but Elite is tough. I do not agree that this is the, definitively an easier mode. Ooh, okay. Nope, I'm dead. Let's see. But yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people arguing over Last of Us 2, actually. That even the 17, 18-hour playtime is either too short or too long, that some people are mad because, you know, that's not enough content for their money. And a lot of other people are like, yeah, this game is just too long. It should have been shorter, and, like, you should have been able to finish it. Or you should be able to finish it in 12 hours, and there's a certain point in, like, Last of Us 2 There's a certain point where it feels like a slog. The levels are just a little bit big, and it just takes a little bit too much time. I'm going to go back and do a normal run. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to enjoy Elite Mode as much as some other people. I think it's just a little bit too punishing for me, and I kind of really enjoy just the running and gunning. Maybe I just got really unlucky with the guns I had. I haven't tried Scalpel yet. Let's try Scalpel. We've been having a smaller library of games that I really like and can replay rather than that $1 or having 1,000 games on Steam. I mean, from my perspective, I don't really get much of a choice. That's the end of the day. People will be people with their own opinions. Very true. The biggest problem I run into with this is that it often feels like just because I have the opinion that, like, certain games are too long, or, like, I don't like this game because... Well, that's it, actually. That if I talk about, like, why I don't like a game, I will often have people defend it. So, like, I will probably talk about Witcher openly about, like, yeah, this game is just kind of too long. And somebody will be like, how dare you, it's a masterpiece. And I'm like, sure it is, but I can't get into it. Yeah, ideally the best thing would be to balance game length and actual content. And I think that's it for me, is that there is an actual content that, like, maybe that's where I lose the $1 an hour thing. How do you switch? B? Ah, 2-shot. That sounds fun. A lot of games have, you know, available content and then fluff. And you have to have a good balance between the two. You have to have a good balance between the two, otherwise your game just ends up being bloated. Yeah, not all hours are created equal. So, what's a good example? Final Fantasy VII. Actually, Final Fantasy VII and Xenoblade. I just beat Xenoblade. It took me 65 hours, give or take. And it was a fun playthrough. I enjoyed it. But compared to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was $60, like, both games cost me $60. Both games were fantastic. Both are some of the best JRPGs I've ever played. But I will conclusively say Final Fantasy VII's remake is better by, like, a substantial margin, because there was very little fluff there. There were, what, 3 segments of Final Fantasy VII's remake that were side quests and kind of wandering, and the rest of it was, like, pure just pushing forward content, cutscenes, character interactions, and so on and so forth. And I really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. Xenoblade had maybe 20 hours of true content. Maybe 30. Let's say 30. You can go back and even double check my series. I labeled all the side quest episodes as separate things, and even then there's an amount of bloat that made its way into the mainline videos. Let's see, dual web. Yeah, let's go for that. It seems like you get a lot more ammo in not elite mode, so I'm just gonna go with that. Final Fantasy VII is too linear for me. I like exploring and getting lost in the world. I think there's a good balance, and so, yeah, I can understand the complaint, and I think I share it to some small degree, that I wanted to spend more time exploring Midgar. Flip side, Xenoblade let me do that, and it was fun exploring the world, but that's like 120 hours of game where only 30 of it is actually, like, unique content, and the rest of it is just wandering around, like, fighting rare monsters that only spawn during a thunderstorm, and it's like... But you don't really want to do it, and you don't really need to do it, especially now that they added casual mode. But it is this long, honestly painful slog because they bloated it out so much and added all these MMO quests. And it's hard for me to get... I feel better about Final Fantasy VII's remake now that I'm done with it. And it's not even done. Like, I'm actually really looking forward to part 2. Whereas, like, Xenoblade, it's gonna be a while before I want to play another Xenoblade game, because I'm just exhausted. Let's see, pupil. Nah. Seems like all of the charged weapons truly are probably best used with the cat. I'm sure I'd be fine with the dog. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Oh, do I? No, I don't have the movement speed was on the previous run. That's going to take some getting used to as well. That's not fun when the game takes half your life of time, just months to beat it. Feels like work. I had that problem. I think that's actually the source of a lot of this grief, frustration, comes actually from Persona 5. Hey, Prism. Not a good Prism, but it's a Prism. I'm not going to bother with no retreat. Okay. What kind did I lose? Let's see, that's just an illusion. Yeah, we'll do Sunder and Prism. But playing Persona 5 was very enlightening from my perspective, where it was just like, I like this game, it's super good, but I would have gladly played a version of it that didn't have any of the social links. Where you could just say, like, screw it. Just give me all the cutscenes, I want to talk to this character, don't make me spend, you know, day after day figuring out whether or not I want to study in the cafe or go eat a giant burger. And I can see why people would enjoy that sort of thing, but from my perspective, that's not really enjoyable or substantive content that I can put, what would it be? Let's actually go for that. Because maybe that'll protect me against getting one shot. But yeah, not all hours are created equal. And so if it's a game that takes 100 hours to beat to the end, but you're doing the same boss fights over and over again. Get a random weapon. Let's try replacing that. See if that gets me something better. Maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Trying to get my head in the game, but unfortunately, this game, I don't have the point where I can just talk about anything while I'm playing it. I get a little bit distracted, especially because topics. But so, yeah, for Persona 5, it was just too long for how much enjoyment that I was getting out of it in the end. Let's get the Elemental Bestowment, re-roll this, perfect 6. Yeah, I gotta remember to keep picking up perks here. Yeah, there's supposed to be Slice of Life, so you enjoy the choices. I think I would enjoy it more if the choices mattered. Because, like, for me, going to study or, like, eating a burger isn't as Slice of Life-y. And I wish it was more about, like, watching the characters hang out. Because... let's continue with Persona. If I was playing Persona and it actually had like a choice, like, do you want to hang out with this character, and you can only like hang out with well, the game does it well. I guess Night in the Woods kind of did it well. No, I don't know. Mixed feelings. I would enjoy the Slice of Life more if it had like a bunch of wholesome interactions between the characters, and I mean all of the characters. I always felt kind of weirdly isolated playing Persona, where it was just like, hey, do you want to hang out with Ryuji, or do you want to hang out with what's her name, Anna? Shoot, I forget. You rarely actually saw the characters hanging out together as like a full group, except for when it was dealing with the whole team. And I would prefer the Slice of Life that almost the anime presented. If any of you guys have seen, like, Persona 4, the anime. I haven't seen Persona 5, so I can't talk on that one too much. But the Slice of Life from the perspective of, like, do you want to just go grind your social stats? It's like, After the first, like, 3 times going to the cafe to grind my studying skill, and just having the same dialogue pop up over and over again, it was easier for me to say no. But I like the idea of it being more Slice of Life where, you know, the characters are interacting, you see more of their daily lives, less the daily grind and more of the, like, here's some friends hanging out, or here are, here's some neat things going on, you know, go to a festival, or so on and so forth. Maybe? Anyway, I was going to talk about this game, you know, the not all hours are created equal. Ooh, yes, Berserk Soul, that sounds good. Admittedly, probably going to be full health most of the time, but still. Let's see, do I want Demon... That's a really good Demon Lore. It's better than the Sunder, that's for sure. Laser Gloves, that's okay. But I would say, I like this game, I wish it had more bosses. The core gameplay loop is real fun, but compared to, say, Binding of Isaac, for example, it's a little tough. It's a little tough being super interested in playing this game for literally 1,000 hours, just because I'm gonna fight Luwu every single time I go by. Let's see. Snow boots, reroll, and propulsion device. I like the fact that I can keep getting those. That's really helpful. Holding a guide for Persona 4, but if you want to hit everything, you have no freedom. While the game encourages you not to rush everything, the hours that go into it make me not want to replay. Granted, I put like 500 hours into Persona 3. Yup. I don't know how many of you guys watched The Completionist, but I was reading... Gosh. This is nutty. But I watched The Completionist from time to time, and he was talking about how miserable he was playing through Persona 5 to properly complete it. And I felt... admittedly, he's not a good example, just because he is, you know, that is almost an obsessive job by... Ooh, yes, yin-yang. It's an obsessive job just by nature of what it is. Thunderclap gloves are better than the Prism. I'll live without the Prism in this case. And 100% in Persona 3 and P3 FES. Eesh. And I can applaud anybody that can do that sort of thing, but it's like... It's... The dollar per hour has a wraparound where after a certain point, it's not worth it anymore. And so that's why I'm always like an advocate of shorter, sweeter, and more like satisfying experiences if I can get into them. Roguelikes are always going to skew it, so I think this conversation is meant for other games. What's a good example of a game that I actually kind of refuse to play because it's too bloated? Well, I really like the Digimon Cyber Sleuth game, mainly because I love Digimon. I kind of refuse to play Hacker's Memory, like finish it, because just trying to was just not fun. Which sucks, because like I really would like to have a series on every single Digimon game out there. Yeah, you're playing it right now. My biggest issue with the game is like the plot was decent, but there was so much fluff. It's like go investigate the AC machine that's outside that's acting up, and then you go in there and there's a mini dungeon with like a boss and other stuff. And I think there's some of those you could skip, but a lot you couldn't. And that was kind of painful. Hello. It's a decent Angelicora. I'll consider it. We'll go back to it in a second. Okay. What about the game Let It Die? Is that the, Suda 51 Diablo-like? Or am I mistaking that for another one? I think that's it. Yeah, it's a Tokyo Nightmare free-to-play Souls-like. Yeah, the further I get away from that one... Ooh. Do I want to go for the curse scroll? Yeah, let's just do it. Let's see what we get. So what is the curse scroll that I picked up? Reduced weapon accuracy. No, it's okay. I was already inaccurate to begin with. It also doesn't seem to affect this gun in the slightest. I could be wrong. Let's see. From my perspective, I think I wanted to like it dearly. I thought it was a really neat concept for a game, and the more people that attempt to make interesting Souls-likes, the better, just because I want to see more interesting Souls-likes. My biggest problem with it, from what I experienced, was purely just the fact that making a Souls-like free-to-play in that manner ruined it. Okay, I think I'm going to have to actually use the Lightning Glove to actually hit these guys. Hopefully I'll get immunity to curse scrolls, but if I don't, it is what it is. Do I want an Argus? It's okay. Looking for elemental effects if I can get them. If I can't get them, I don't know. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, for Let It Die, really neat concept for a game. Effectively, you're in this like weird nega Tokyo that everybody's gotten crazy and is murdering each other, and you have to kind of explore it, and there's like a mystery of why and what and who and how. And I thought that was really cool. But the problem is you would have like random AI invaders just show up and wreck you. The whole game incentivized the cash shop in kind of an unhealthy way. I think it was very manageable if you actually were... I think it was extremely manageable if you were good at the game and knew what you were doing. But, like I said, like the first 10 hours of game are kind of critical for almost every game. And that if your game isn't fun, most people are going to check out after that first 10 hours. Except for the diehards and the true fans. And I think there are a lot of games that can make that work, but you have to balance it if you're not. And so, like, maybe if I'd sunk, like, 40 hours into it and, like, really got used to it and, like, learned, but I just remember dying once and it was like, yeah, but you can spend some money and not have to deal with that. I'm like, no, that's freaking stupid. I don't want to do that. Yeah, the thing with Let It Die was meant to be a long, slow climb up 300 floors. People who've been playing it for years still haven't reached the top floor. I think that can work for a game that has the content for that. The problem is, like, a long, slow climb... Oh, what's a good example? Well, Witcher 3 is probably the best example I can immediately think of, where that is a long game, but it has the content to match. Mostly. Like, every single side quest in Witcher 3 is not made the same, but almost all of them are interesting. Almost all of them. Whereas I never really got that out of Let It Die or a lot of these, like, big, long RPGs. Freaking snipe shotgun. Actually just more accurate than the sniper. It's not cool. But so, like I said, I think I'm more susceptible to a lot of these, like, overbloated games because it is something that I'm going to have to go through. From the perspective of, like, a 300-hour game, that's a 600 to 450 episode YouTube series. How many series are you willing to, like, put that amount of time into? And maybe that's actually a decent way to describe kind of why some of these issues are kind of poignant. Is, like, most of you guys would specifically, most people will stop watching after the first 5 episodes. That's just how the industry works. And I don't, like, blame anybody for that. Gosh, I missed my porcupine. And or the dual elemental effects from those pulses. Those were real good. Let's see. Get this. Hey, no additional ammo consumption. That's the stuff. Do I actually want to grab that? I really should probably upgrade my weapons, but not a high priority right now.